Hi everyone, welcome to week 4. At the end of this week, you will be more than halfway through the course. Um, this week, we are going to continue to focus on ourselves and others and offer another conflict resolution approach. So, as you're thinking about your conflict and you're coming up with 2 different conflict resolution approaches, this one might be one. Remember last week we covered nonviolent communication, and that all by itself, just using that, just, saying, hi, I'm being, nice to you, that kind of thing. That's not what we're talking about. If you're using nonviolent communication as a as a conflict resolution approach, then you want to teach the person what you're doing and teach them how to do it. That would be the resolution approach. If you help them see how to do this, then they will be able to resolve their conflict. Okay, so let's look at what we're doing this week. And I'm just going to scroll through, like using the next button. So we're building relationships. You're working in your groups now. It's still early, although you might begin to approach some what we call chaos phase. And that's where in the beginning everybody's very polite to each other. And then people start to say, well, this is what I really want. This is what I really think. And so that can cause some disagreement. It could cause some tension. It could cause some conflict. Um, it doesn't have to be like an outright fight that happens. It could be something more subtle than that. Okay, excuse me. All right, so let's go and see what you're doing. Here we have for this week the learning resources. You have Goleman, Poulin, Siegel, and Tolle. And all of these are really quite interesting. Sorry. Here is Dr. Dan Siegel talking about avoidant attachment. And in this video, he discusses attachment in terms of the brain, which is a focus of one of your discussions this week. So it's really important that you watch this. Just remember that you need to use Zoom or Skype, preferably Zoom, to meet with your small group or even with your dyad partner. This is Dr. Beth Barol. She was our Associate Dean for several years and is now working as a faculty, which has always been her love. She demonstrates using talking paper as a technique for conflict resolution. And so you'll watch this because one of the things you're going to do is find yourself a group and use talking paper to resolve a conflict. You can make up the conflict, doesn't have to be an actual conflict. And here's a narrative. Okay. All right, so there are 2 discussions this week. One has to do with attunement and brain-to-brain communication and implications for attachment. So attachment is our ability to relate to somebody else. But how does that all happen? That if we're not really paying attention to somebody, it's really hard to attach to them. If we are not really paying attention, we can communicate. I don't know if maybe you've sat next to somebody and they were just almost vibrating because they were so angry or upset or happy or something, and you can literally feel their energy coming from them. Well, our brains communicate with each other in a similar way. It's your brain saying to you, to your sensory system, you are picking up this emotion from this other person. Now, Dr. Dan Siegel's video speaks to that too, okay? And some of there is, I think some of the reading material also addresses it, but maybe in not so directly, like where they say brain-to-brain communication. Now, so based on the reading material, tell us how the ideas of attunement, brain-to-brain communication, and their implications for attachment change or inform the role of the social worker and the small group leader. So that's asking you to apply these ideas to a social worker and also to a small group leader. You will respond to one classmate. Okay, so in the second discussion, this is about talking paper. So you're going to find a group of people. They could be your family. They could be your coworkers. They could be neighbors. They could be people that you somehow relate to in the community, at church or on a sports team or something like that. And so you're going to practice using talking paper with that group. And then for your discussion, you're going to provide us with a short description of what topic you covered, what were your findings in general, what any issues you encountered, and any questions that you have about the talking paper process. Not really questions that they asked you, but that you have about the process. And then, if possible, with permission from your group, upload a photo of the completed talking paper exercise. So that would be like a poster paper with sticky notes on it, would be basically what you're doing. Now, a couple of points that sometimes students miss. One is, as the facilitator, you are not a group member. You do not offer any suggestions or answer any questions. Your job is strictly to facilitate the group. And that's because if you start to jump in and give answers, your power as a small group leader can overwhelm other people, where you won't get the kind of honest and open information that you are trying to achieve. Okay. So you cannot be a member of the group other than you are a member as a facilitator. Okay. We don't put anybody on the spot. So if we're asking people to use talking paper, we don't pay attention to them and say, okay, who wrote this? The whole idea is that there's safety in the anonymity of using the talking paper. And then you'll respond to one classmate. Here is where you will upload your small group discussion. Each week that you meet, and when you upload this, I always make a comment back to you. Maybe I ask a question, or I make a suggestion, or I make sure that you understand something. The one thing that you want to make sure that you do in this process, I didn't get a good night's sleep last night. That's not a really healthy thing, is it? Tonight I will, though. So we want to make sure that when you go into Zoom, that everybody can be seen on the video. So there is a little button, a toggle button up in the right-hand side of the window, up in the upper right, that allows you to change the view. So you want to change the view. Everybody has to change the view so that everybody can see everybody in about the same sized box, and that people don't disappear when one person starts talking. We need to see all of you in the presentation. Okay. You have a dyad conversation this week, and you are going to talk about groups. So you're each going to talk about a group that you've encountered. They might be the same group or more likely to be different groups. One that went well and one that did not. And you're each going to talk about it. You take turns doing that. What was the stage that the group was in? And how do you know? What role did the leader play? So when we're thinking about the stages, we're thinking about what did people do? What did we observe in that group that told us that this group was in chaos or that this group was in pseudo community? And then when you meet with your small group this week or next week, because depending on the timing of when you meet, discuss what you learned from this dyad exercise and how it might add to the small group's project. Okay, what went well? What didn't go well? How can that add, knowing that, talking about that, increase the outcome of your presentation? Now, something I do want to mention, groups often get caught up into focusing on, we have this presentation and we have to get it done. Let's stay focused on the presentation. Don't be talking to each other and getting to know each other or, to work through what your issues are. Just work on the task. And I want to say to you, do not do that. The path to the task goes through the process of the group. The group needs to talk about what's happening in the group. If somebody's upset, even one person is upset, then the whole group is not moving forward. You are not in community if one person in your group feels as though they're not included. So talking about how are we doing as a group is critical, because the more that you do that, the better that you work together, and that will influence the quality of your presentation. If you ignore that process, try to just get the task done, it'll just be a task. It won't have the same level of quality. Okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, ask me. I'm happy to discuss that more. Okay, so the content, meaning what you talked about, and the process, how you talked about it, of the conversation are to be described in the dyad part of your process note for week 5. Okay? And then finally, you have a mid-semester evaluation. This is where you get to talk about the course, how the course is set up. We have lead faculty for each course who essentially set the course, and then some of us come in and teach it. I'm the lead faculty for other courses, not for this course. But getting feedback about the course is really very helpful. You also have an option to give feedback about me, and that would be very helpful to me too. If you think that, well, I could wish I would talk about something else in this video, or I don't know, whatever you wish for, please talk about that. If I'm doing something you don't want me to stop doing it, it would also be good to talk about that too. Okay? So, and that's it until next week. So you'll see next week is coming to common ground. Finding common ground is yet again another approach to resolving conflict. So we offer you three options that you could use for your presentation. You could go outside of these options. Just want to be clear in how you describe that and make sure it is a conflict resolution approach, okay? All right, anything else that you need, please let me know. I'm happy to help you. Thank you. Bye.